Yo, what is up, everybody? It is Corey, the Jaginator, fucking Marco, back with another season of the Dodcast. So in this case, we are on to season 8 of KTP. Pretty fucking crazy to think about, obviously, going back to 2022 when the first season happened. In my mind at that point, it was like, man, if we got like 2 or 3 seasons out of this, that would be insane. And here we are heading into season 8 with 21 teams now. Let me check. 21, I believe. Where the fuck is the teams button? There it is. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in gold. We got 11, 1, 2, 3. How many? We got 9 in silver. And we got 6 in bronze. A 3-team league, 3-division league. Bare minimum of 6 per division here. I haven't looked too closely at all this yet because I kind of wanted it to be, like if I'm gonna show my reaction to things, I'd like it to be an actual reaction in most cases. I have a general idea of where everything ended up, but this episode, because obviously with 21 teams, that's going to be a lot of shit week in and week out. So we're going to have to see what happens with the weekly episodes and how that's going to go. We might have to end up doing like 2. I don't know. We'll figure it out. In this case, I just am going to kind of overview it. I'm going to kind of take a look, going to show everybody what's going on, show everybody the teams, go over what the map schedule is. First things first, though, with 21 teams this season, we got to make sure we're submitting demos to War Within for the frag of the week, because now more than ever, there's really no excuse for him not having enough submissions every week to make it. I just keep seeing like a fucking cat hair hanging off the mic. No excuses for not having a buttload of crazy submissions every week, right? So that is number one. I'm always making sure to remind everybody. I will inevitably remind you all again numerous times in the coming weeks. Matches, I believe, are supposed to start. Today is Friday the 11th, and I think the match is supposed to start, the 21st, which would be a week from Sunday, I believe. Week from Sunday? Sunday, yeah. There's a chance that we'll be playing our match with Icy Hot this Monday. That's fine, because I don't predict those matches. I don't predict Thunder's matches, other than for the LAN I did. Which I was planning on doing a whole recap of the LAN. God, my fucking leg is all fucked up under here. I was planning on doing a recap of the LAN and who won and everything like that, but I wanted to do all the HLTV casts first, right? And we're still not even up to the playoffs in those. And now I'm in Canada where, not casting with this setup we've seen has gone very wrong when I do it. It's generally bad quality. I don't want to have any of the LAN casts be super bad quality. As it was the finals, I was doing from the LAN, and I feel like that was unfortunate for me, like not having my nice mic and everything set up and tuned the way I wanted it to. I tried to fuck with the settings here and see if I could get it to be clean enough, but it hasn't gotten there yet. Now, if it gets to the point where, although I'm not going to be here next week, obviously, so I guess it doesn't matter. I was going to say, if it gets to the point where the season is like about to start and I'm still not even close, then I'll just do them from here too, but I guess that shouldn't happen. I'll be back tomorrow. Is today Thursday? Yeah. I'll be back in America tomorrow. Depending on what time I get in, maybe I'll do a couple tomorrow night. Otherwise, Saturday I'll definitely be doing some. Sunday. Basically every day from here on out, you can expect me to be doing some sort of a cast, even if it's just one, and try to get us up to the point where we're at least into the quarterfinals. Because I'm probably a little over halfway through the group stage matches. Maybe I'm further than I'm estimating. It's possible. I've definitely done a lot. But then you also have all the play-in matches. So that's another, 4 teams made it through. So that would leave, or did 5 teams make it through? I forget how that worked. I don't know. It's like another 4 or 5 matches there. Put a best of ones. Then you get into the playoffs where it's all best of threes. And then it's going to be, a little bit more time consuming. We already did the finals and one of the semifinals. I haven't done like hardly any Thunder games yet. I might try to burn those all in like a day. Not even for Thunder, like not for my own team, but because we're playing other teams in those games. Like that's really the reason I'm doing it. I don't need to cast myself doing shit. But yeah, I'm going to try to get those done all in a row because I've been putting them off just because it always feels weird doing my own games. But we'll get them done. Everything will get done. And maybe it'll be up to the point where we got just a couple games left by the time Season 8 starts. But in the next couple weeks, this will be done and dusted. And then I will have nothing else to work on besides the G-Skill movie, which that's another reason it's a bummer when I'm here. I can't work on movie stuff. Like it's all just mental editing at that point, which is it's a valid part of the process, I think. Like I definitely figure out some of the most fun stuff that ends up in movies when I am just mentally doing it. But it's always nice when I have an idea and I can actually just go in and fucking put the clip on the timeline and try to see if the edit works. Because it doesn't always or often. So yeah, right now it's just all I can really do is this Dodcast and not much else. So KTP Season 8. 21 teams, 9 weeks, I believe, for the regular season. 9 weeks, right? That looks like it says 10 weeks. Wait, what? That says 10 weeks. That says 10 weeks. I mean, I guess it's 10 weeks. For some reason, I thought it was 9 weeks, but my guess is that... Huh. Wait, what? I'm so confused by this. Oh, that's the individual. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks? Why did I think it was 9 weeks? Huh. Well, now I'm confused. I would have swore that it was 9 weeks. Old schedule, so we play... If I look at my own schedule, maybe it will help clarify. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. Okay. I guess there's no ranked games in this case. One, two, yeah, I mean 8 again. 8 again. I'm a little confused because I thought that Railroad 2 was in the schedule as well. Yeah. So I'm assuming this is the ranked week, right? So I'm guessing it is. All right, because I kept saying it was 9 weeks. All indications to me were that it was 9 weeks. I was very confused for a second there. I believe it is 9 weeks because I was pretty sure I saw that both the railroads were in the rotation again. That was another thing of note that had me, 9 weeks. So yeah, it looks like it is 9 weeks from what I can see here. And the 9th week will be some sort of a ranked game, which we pretty much do every season, right? The last week of the season, you try to take the teams that can have movement in the standings and match them up with each other. If you have a 2 and a 3 seed where if they had one more game against each other, the winner would take the 2 seed and the loser would go 3 or potentially drop 1 if another team wins. You do those matchups, and then if like the team is locked in 1 and locked in 7, you put them together. If a team is locked in 5 and locked in 8, you put them together. We've done this plenty of times. Everybody knows what the deal is with that. So 9 weeks. The last week is Railroad 2, and it is a ranked game. So going over what we've got team-wise, first of all, in the Bronze Division. I should just go to the fucking team list. In the Bronze Division, first things first, you got the Ninja. Now, I'm not going to speculate too hard on, like, starters in every case here. Like, I'll say who I think the starters are And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll find out as the season goes on. Some teams I'll know pretty much who the starters are. Some teams I won't. It is what it is. For the Ninja, you got Miller, Illusion, obviously a great start there, especially for a team in bronze. You got Woody, who is, I believe, a Call of Duty player. I got to play some 12-mans with a lot of the new players, but not many. So I've got some idea on where some of them stand, but not a lot. Bestia after that, Aim Tech, obviously another insanely strong player. Bullet Lottery as well. Verb, who is that? I think that's another COD player. Steve, I think, might be as well. Dirty German definitely was a COD player. And then Shogun, Colby, obviously a well-known entity in the top divisions of competitive DoD. Very good-looking team there. Starting, I have no idea with this team because these Call of Duty pros are very impressive already. I love the influx we have of players from the top of other games. Obviously, in most cases, it's Source, but coming over and getting themselves ingratiated into the 1.3 competitive community because they're good at other FPS games. I mean, DoD 1.3 is a lot more intuitive than most FPS games, especially ones made in the last 10 to 15 years, right? You stop, you aim, you shoot. Most of the time, the bullet is going where your crosshair is. Controlling recoil, it's just the crosshair. It's not like, there's a spray pattern on this and there's a cone of fire on the spray pattern and you got to memorize the spray pattern, but also there's a cone of fire on, that's the way games are designed now. This is why DoD, one of the reasons why DoD is so fun still to this day, because as an FPS game mechanically, it just makes more sense, which is, I also think, something that a lot of people need to keep in mind when it comes to rule stuff, right? This is a 20-year-old game. It was made, it was made over 20 years ago. The last update was basically 20 years ago. There have been updates to the Gold Source engine in Half-Life 1 since then that had unintended side effects on 1.3 because they're not thinking about the mods to Half-Life 1 when they're updating Half-Life 1, especially not one where we got 100 players in it actively, right? So, there's a lot of things that when you apply common day knowledge of games and technology and all that kind of shit, you might look at it and be like, well, why is that illegal? Why can't we do that? I want to do this. You can do that in this game now and all that. But it's because the game is that old. There's as technology and player intelligence, from experience in other games and other engines has gone up, the ability to exploit things in this old-ass game and old-ass engine has also gone up, and it's really just a matter of, a gentleman's agreement to not do things like that, or in some cases, it is actively a rule, but I know there's a lot of things where people will see a rule or whatever and think, well, that's fucking stupid, that doesn't make sense, why can't you do that, or a rule from the past or whatever. It's because the game is fucking 20-something years old, right? Things that are common to do in other games nowadays, you can't, you're doing them in DoD and it's technically exploiting something that is just an old broken aspect of the game. It sucks, it's stupid, but that's one of the things that comes with the give and take of the fact that we're playing a 23-year-old game, right? But it is both a weakness and a strength in that regard. It makes it's part of the reason why the game is so simple and straightforward and intuitive and fun. But at the same time, in a lot of cases, you can't just be well, this fucking keyboard will stop for me, right? I could make my keyboard stop for me or whatever. They let me do that in Marvel Rivals, so why can't I do that in DoD? That's not a real example, but this is the kind of stuff that really does exist now. Snap tap stuff, that's a whole thing. Mouse macros, you can fucking set pretty much any mouse now to do whatever you want it to do automatically. It's crazy, crazy shit out there, and people just need to accept that this is a very old game and stuff that might be completely fine and meaningless in another game. It is just exploiting the engine in this game and bypassing game mechanics that are integral to the actual experience within the game. So just something to keep in mind that I thought of when I was talking about why I think Call of Duty pros coming over to this game. They're going to be really good players. So that's the Ninja. I'm already so far behind schedule now because I'm just going to go on fucking tangents every time I talk about anything. So next up, we have the Silver champs from last season. No-Go, obviously a little bit of a different look this time around. No William, no Tony, but still a very, very strong-looking team actually here. So Deidro, Koi, three-sided quarter, Cushy, Greg, which is Spoon, Blue, Solid Ride-On. Wow, I can't believe Solid is back. That's fucking cool. Same with Jamie, or Yami in this case. And of course, Matthew, the man, the myth, the legend. This team has so many guys that could be starting. I'm so curious to see if Solid is going to be active again. I imagine Quarter will be doing the sniping. He was great at the LAN for Seoul. Obviously, a lot of these no-go guys were also at the LAN and playing together. That is a very strong team. Immediately got to be, maybe the favorite in the bronze division, I would say. The bronze division is pretty close, but I think No-Go and Ninja, I would say, are the favorites. Just looking here right now at everything. But yeah, you're having three divisions, right? Like I'm sure it was an absolute nightmare trying to parse out these divisions this time. I think you could have potentially done it where you had like very few teams in bronze, even less than this in bronze and in gold, and ended up with like an 11 or 12 team silver division. But would that have been unfun for silver then? I don't know. This is why I'm not an admin anymore, because like this stuff sucks and you're never going to fucking please everybody, right? Like people are going to be pissed, especially when it comes to division placement. Although I think this season, that will be the least frequent it's ever been because we have three divisions. So that gave a little bit more freedom for teams teams that were oftentimes borderline teams to be in the division that they'd rather be in. That silver division is going to be, whoo, that thing's going to be a barn burner, man. Holy fuck. Okay. Now we've got Rifle Nades, which this is predominantly source players, like main game source players, guys who, many of whom are also 1.3 players too, but also many of whom are coming over to 1.3 competitively for the first time ever maybe, or in a while in some cases. Arachnid, obviously well-known, great sniper. A00, obviously well-known, just great player all around. Firo, back from the days on CIS. Boomzor, not super familiar with. Celts, I forget how you pronounce it, but one of the best heavies in Source history, I believe, along with Chrono, same thing, but Chrono, a known 1.3 player as well. If you've been around for more than the last 3 years or whatever, he was always a really, really good player in 1.3. Medic, Virus X, who is a 1.3 player, and Henry, DODS, I'm guessing a Source player. Another team with a lot of guys that are going to be fun to track their progression as the season goes on. Celts, I'm super curious. I'm sure he played 1.3 in the past as well, but, seeing guys coming over in this day and age with the skill ceiling just being so fucking high and the skill floor being so high, it's going to be really, really fun to see more source players coming over. This will be a common theme throughout all these teams. You're going to see other newer players coming in that were source players. And yeah, that's a team that I very much look forward to seeing throughout this season. They obviously have a great baseline with Arachnid, Azilla, Firo, Chrono, Virus, all these guys who have played competitive 1.3 recently. Next, you got the Rodeo. You got Bojanglers, Jane. You got Yarrow returning from back in the day. I've seen him play a couple times now. He's already getting back into the swing of things. You got Nick Kaler, of course. LASIK from way back in the day. Last played in, I think, 2004. And man, I've seen him playing lately, and he looks so sharp already. Some guys, they got it in this game. I'm not one of those guys. When I haven't played in a while, it takes me a bit to come back. Some guys can just do it. LASIK appears to be one of them. CK, of course, CK. We all know CK. Meep is another a great player on this roster with a lot of potential who has been coming along in 1.3 over the last few seasons. Kicking, another old school guy. Sir Snipey, who was one of the breakout players from the World Series of DOD. And then Titus, an old school 1.3 invite player. Anybody who played back in the day knows of Titus as the sniper from HSB. From what I understand, he can't play super often this season, but will be available like basically at match time on Sunday nights and doesn't want to snipe, which, hey, we all get that. I certainly get that as well as anybody. But, you know, that team, if they can come together and find some cohesion, there's obviously a shitload of talent on it as well. Could be a dark horse in the bronze side of things. And we got Uncle Rico's Time Machine, Head Like a Hole. Obviously, we all know Nick. Kevin Purdy, one of the MVPs from WSVG 2006 and a very well-known quantity in invite level DOD. G, my French-Canadian brother. Cadaver, who is a very, very old-school invite player, a heavy, played for RLTW. I think might have played for Highball for a minute there. And one other team towards the end of his time, and then wasn't around for years and years, maybe popped up a couple other times, but I'm pretty sure maybe hasn't played since 2005 or 6. Ian, now here's what I'm unsure of. Is that Ian Gilmore, who is another like MVP level player from WSVG 06 and countless other lands he was great at? You know, playing for R Sports, Zeno, basically the same team there. Washed up at SoCal 677. Or is that Nitro? I'm not sure because that could be one of those two Ians, right? It's not Ian Galasso. He's on another team. So either way, it's a really fucking good player. I'm curious to find out who it is. I'm not certain. I think it's Ian Gilmore, which is, I mean, one of the most underrated rifles of all time, I would say. Such a fucking good player. If you ever watched the R Sports movie, you know that. Just really fucking good at the game. Awesome to see him potentially coming back. Nitro, I believe, was also a professional, well, maybe not professional, but an invite 1.6 player back in the day, if it's him. Either way, it's a guy who's going to be fucking good at the game for them. Stark, always a fucking X factor of a heavy, and then Zamplet, just a great piece for any team. He can do it all and do his job. Very smart player. That team is a scary team, especially, man, if you get guys like Ian and Kevin and Cadaver playing with any regularity at all, getting themselves into the swing of things, like, that's very scary. Those are guys who are, you know, lifelong invite level players in this game, and you know, it's going to be fun to just even see if they're not practicing. Like, they are players that have historically been strong enough that they could just pop in and shit on everybody without problem. Okay, on to the last team in bronze. You got the Wickeds, Jiraiya, Bullet Fodder, or Bora Bill, as he is known in Brazil. Ryan, AZ, Jiraiya Jr., who looks like he's just going with Junior now. That's at least a little bit less of a mouthful for me when I'm casting. Leto, Zaps, good to see Zaps playing. Lucho, and Berinha is back. Wow, that's fucking good to see, and really good for the Wickeds too, man. He was so good in the early seasons of KTP. You know, one of those guys on those early Brazilian teams that was always very strong, but maybe got overshadowed a little bit by like Rafinha. But he was always so strong in those seasons early on. I mean, bronze is fucking wide open, man. It's really tough to say for sure who the definite favorite is. It's once we start seeing some matches get played, I think it'll become clear very quickly. Let me just look at like any team schedule. So No-Go versus Rodeo on Lennon, that'll tell us a lot. And then they play Ninja right away on Rail Yard, although Rail Yard is a little bit of a, you know, a map that's going to be interesting just to see teams feel out the meta on, because it hasn't been played by teams competitively that much. It's been in drafts more than it's been in KTP seasons or at the LAN. I have theories on how to play it still, but I played it once in a match. It was a match that didn't go well for my team against Dice, and I was sniping on it, so I really didn't get to try to feel things out. on the other side of the map and how you might be able to use it to your advantage. But that's a map that's going to be interesting. The Wickeds, like it's obviously a 6-team division, so everyone's going to play each other pretty quickly and multiple times, basically. So going to be fun to see how that division pans out. Now on to the silver side of things. This is a just absolutely stacked fucking division here. This is a stacked division. I'm not sure how people feel about the placement of all their teams overall. I think it's tough to argue against any of these teams really being in silver. These are some really good teams. There's a lot of teams in here that, in my opinion, if you would put them in gold, I don't think they could have argued all that much. I mean, they might have argued that much, but in my opinion, like, a lot of these teams here could play in gold and compete well in gold and be able to win a couple games. I know that's not the most fun thing in the world, that you can only win a couple games and you're not necessarily the favorite to go win the championship, right? But that's the fine line when it comes to division placement. I think this was a scenario that worked out for everybody that are those borderline teams where, like, you look at them and you're like, that's probably a gold team, right? But in gold, maybe against like 3 out of the other 5 teams, or however many, if it was like an 8-team gold division, right? They clearly can beat like 3 of the other teams, but are heavy underdogs against the other 3. And I understand that's not the most fun thing in the world to look forward to. I personally enjoy that challenge, but I know not everybody does, right? It's a tale of 2 theories on the competitive side of DoD, right? It is what it is. Not everybody agrees with me, and I completely understand that. It's just my opinion when it comes to competitive things. Like, I would love the opportunity to like try to fight my way up in the gold division again. It's always a fun experience trying to do so. It's just, in this season's case, that didn't really need to happen to anybody. If they had decided to go with an 8-team division, I think there would have definitely been 2 teams that would have been not super happy to be in gold, but they would have belonged there if it was an 8-team division, like just flat out. And I think that they could have pretty much flipped a coin to pick 2 teams out of this division. It's so fucking stacked. There are definitely a couple teams that are a little more stacked than the rest that I think will be the favorites. But, I mean, obviously Clinic is the best example, right? Clinic has been... They won silver in season 1 undefeated. We all know how much I love Clinic, right? They go on up to gold in season 2. They beat Thunder on Anzia, which is something that has barely ever happened. Such an impressive win. We've seen them take wins off of a bunch of really strong teams. Generally speaking, they end up in the middle to the bottom, right, in the rankings come playoff time. They're capable of upsetting teams all the time. I've been desperately trying to work on the admins to let Clinic play in silver for a season again. They got to play in there one more time, and they lost in a best of 3, and I think the semifinals to Goose Patrol. And since then, it's been all gold. Like, they've gotten 2 silver seasons out of 7. They've played every season. Now they're getting their 3rd, but they're a team who, like, and here's the thing, they've never complained, which is another thing that makes me love them even more. They've been put in gold so many times where there was arguably other teams that maybe deserved to be in gold more than them because they were just so stacked. But they never complained, and they would get put in gold, and they would just go up there and try their fucking best to win as many games as they can, and they'd come away with a couple upset wins, and now they get to be up there at the top of silver and try to go defend that inaugural and only fully undefeated silver title in existence. That was obviously before there was a lot of best of 3s. So, Goose Patrol had what was technically an undefeated season, though they lost a map along the way, whereas Clinic didn't lose a map at all. They just also didn't have to play as many best of 3s as Goose, so you can very easily debate which one is more impressive there. It's the only silver championship that was completely undefeated. Now I'm on a complete side tangent, but point being, like, this silver division is so stacked. There's so many teams that could easily be gold teams and would scare me to have to play, flat out. That's just the reality of the situation, and it's going to be so cool to see them all battle it out in the biggest division of the 3, right? Like, by 3 teams. just about every team has multiple clear fucking gold quality players stacking it. It's just this division is going to maybe be the most fun, crazy season of DoD in one division that we've had. There's been a couple in silver and in gold that have been like, what the fuck? Who's going to win this? Like teams all ending up within a game or two of each other. No way to know who's going to win week in and week out. Usually, most of the time, a couple teams will separate themselves from the pack as being the clear favorites, at least in the regular season. You never know what's going to happen come playoff time. But yeah, it is going to be fun to see. Starting off with the Band of Morons, this is one team that could easily be a gold team, obviously, just looking at their roster. You got Pro Star, you got Darren, you got Ben Sane, Casino Royale, Baron, Crod, Till, Defrag, and Insight. Like, that is such a good fucking team, man. A lot of these guys who were just playing outstanding at the LAN. I mean, really all of them that were at the LAN played so fucking well. I think Insight was out of all these guys, the guy who I'm sure was most surprising to people at LAN. Everybody else, I mean, Baron obviously didn't have NA LAN experience, but anyone who knew Baron and had played against him and with him enough knew he was going to go there and be a good player. So to me, that wasn't a surprise. Whereas Insight, like, didn't have any gold experience, went to this LAN having to play against gold teams and looked outstanding as a heavy. Now, from what I understand, he won't be heavying this season. They didn't have a heavy spot open. Obviously, there's a few really fucking good heavies on this team, but he is just a great player who really digs deep into the game. And I love that shit because I'm the same way. I'm a huge fucking nerd, and when I see other people looking at the game in that nerdy of a way, I'm immediately like, yeah, I love you, bro. And I love Insight. He is such a fun player to watch and to hear what his thoughts are on the game and what his thought process is. That team is fucking insane, but that's going to be a common theme going through this division. On to the next one, Best Buds, a team who was just at the LAN. Basically, most of this roster was there at the LAN with them. Hopper and his 3K shovel clip against Thunder on Lennon. War Within and however many movie clips he also had against us on Lennon. The Brom Bomb, who I think was one of the standout guys, when it came to just like the performance on LAN versus online. A guy who I think outperformed his online performance on LAN. Big Bird, I would say same thing for Big Bird, to be honest. I mean, I guess with Big Bird, it always depends how high is he, right? Is he the perfect amount of high or not? Chicago Legends, same thing, looked great at the LAN. Epion, I think a guy that probably surprised a lot of people too. A lot of these guys who weren't playing in gold season after season, then getting to play against gold teams, and they're, these gold players who don't really get a lot of reps against them are going to find out quickly, like, oh shit, this guy is like really good. He does these things in these ways. Piff, who ended up having to basically third rifle, but was Tommy gunning and Untering, technically playing off class. It was such a nuisance to fucking play against, man. Piff was such a cool guy to meet as well. Same with Bobby. Bobby dropped 40 on us. On Lennon, axe aside with a car. And then PD, who here's the thing, I'm not sure. There is an old DoD player named PD. I have no idea if this is him. I didn't get any answer on this from anybody who I asked. Is this PD from like Zero Effect and the original Cal IM Online Thunder? And Skull and stuff, or is this a different PD? I don't know. If it's that old PD, then he's got the pedigree to be a hell of a player on this team. Certainly there are enough guys here with old school DoD experience that could have known PD and brought him into this, or it's just someone else's friend that happens to have the name of PD. I don't know. We're going to find out eventually, but Best Buds is such a fucking good team. On to Clan X, who were, was it last season? Or 2 seasons ago when they lost in the finals after having just an insane season. They had a really bad luck final against fucking SEC, right? That was the name of the team at the time, SEC? Or DoD Worldwide. Was it DoD Worldwide last season? I don't know. One of the 2 seasons they were SEC. I think it was SEC in the silver season. That was one of those seasons where you had 2 teams battling at the top of silver with a really fun rivalry, beating each other back and forth. Clan X, such a strong team always. And this team is something that I've continued to hope would happen, where they took the best players really available from the South American region. Now, there's a lot of good players from there, right? You can debate on the group that you would consider the best. And there's certainly players missing from here that you could throw in there, right? It's not all the best clear cut, without debate. But to me, this roster looks as close to a full-on South American all-star team as you can get. Lobaton, Empey, and Javi in the last few months of DoD. I think he was playing on 60 hertz, and then he got a probably 144 hertz monitor or more. And now is up to playing at the same speed as everybody else, as I found out the hard way in 2023 after like a year being back playing DoD still on 60 hertz. That change alone is a huge difference maker. You're basically playing like seconds behind everybody else when you're on 60 hertz. And Javi, the proof has been in the pudding right there. He has come such a long way in a short time. Rafinha, who's just one of the best players in the game. Manga, who has been a breakout star of the last few seasons. Nitrox, who I think is maybe one of the most underrated players in the game, period. Matt, who has been a stalwart heavy for every one of these teams. Bitch X, who is an old school star of past South American teams. Just a ridiculous rifle from the past. And if he gets back into the swing of things remotely close to that level, that would be a huge fucking deal for Clan X. Mand, who has been so good on the sniper rifle, season in and season out. And then Bud, of course, it's Bud, right? He's just one of the best players of all time, period. I assume he will get to heavy on this team. He could probably play any class at that level, honestly. But as a heavy in particular, he is just so valuable, both with his skill and with his mind for the game. That team looks so good as well. Then on to my boys in Clinic here, making their return to silver, looking to try to get another ring in the division that they started off so strong. You got Tom, Sam, Insam, Vic, Carp, Allen, Debo, Schmaltzy, Suave, and Chris W. I have no idea what the lineup plan is for the season. I know Carp last season basically never got to play. He was moving and I think got a new job and stuff. So it's going to be definitely a question mark. Is he back? Is he sniping? If he is, who's then playing on the other guns? Obviously, whenever Debo is there, it is a huge, huge help for them because he's just so fucking good at the game. Like that just gives that added weapon to mix in with just the great team play that Clinic brings to the table and all the other skilled players they've got. He's such a huge variable when he's in there that other teams, you have to deal with him because he's going to put up 80 on you. And that makes it harder when you have to deal with killing him. And then even once you do, you then have to deal with the strong play of everyone else as a team as well. Like this team is just so well constructed and played together so well. Walter, who I think, again, was another breakout star of the LAN, went to the LAN and was even better, which is one of those things that's always fun to see when guys are showing up to a LAN and even better than they are online. I think Scott and Allen, really all the Clinic guys are usually playing in that ping range where it's like annoying to play in online, right? And so going to the LAN, it's just they're all probably feeling infinitely better in this game than they do online. So they are a pretty good example where like all of them, I think, and I haven't gotten to watch a lot of their games. We didn't get to play against them. But just from a logical common sense perspective, I'm sure all of them felt better on LAN, right? We definitely saw Allen, like he was car barring a lot of the time because he was playing so well. Next up, we've got the Emo Frag Squad. I know all these guys and gals very well, obviously. I'm surprised this team didn't just call themselves Jetty. But it is pretty similar to the Jetty team from Season 2, I think. Maybe they specifically didn't call themselves Jetty because that was kind of a cursed season for that team, even though their roster was fucking insane. Like, they had a lot of strong players on that team, but they had a couple players who just didn't play the game, right? And that shows how much you need a strong lineup all the way through, because that team had, 4 basically gold players, but then 2 guys who just don't play the game at all, and that was enough that I don't think they won a game that season. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they did win a game, it was only a couple. But it was a team who coming into the season was like, everyone was they were a favorite, and then just because they didn't quite have a deep enough starting lineup after those first few guys, they just weren't able to get wins finished, this time around, you've, of course, got Heisey, you got Steve, Matt Rogers, J-Rod, Ian Galasso, Sapphire, Apple, Spec Ops, Rambizzle, who is Ricky actually around, or is he just on the roster? I don't know, but an old good player. And then Decaf. So much strength on this team. I assume, actually, I don't know, I guess, who the starters would necessarily be. I would say these 5 for sure. And then, I'm guessing Apple, right? I'm guessing Apple would be the other starter, who is a mechanical god. If you've ever played any games with Apple, you know. And then have these guys in as the backups. But this is a team who, again, very scary, a lot of skill on it. They just hopefully will get to scrim some and get the team play together. And if they do, another very fucking scary team. You got a lot of guys who can take over a game by themselves here. You got a sniper who has been as reliable as it gets in KTP. And yeah, we'll see what happens with them activity-wise. Hopefully they're going to get some scrims in because it will be essential in a silver division that is this fucking stacked. Next up, Expired, another team from last season who was just so fucking good, so fun to watch, capable of beating anybody, so much talent on this team, and no different this time around. You got Raven, Pizza Hut, SQ, who is one of my favorite players to watch in the game, and he's always putting up highlights when I cast for this team. Fincher, who is so fucking strong on the heavy. Coffee, who is just a winner, man. He does what it takes to win. Anna on the rifles. Super making his return to DOD. I don't think he's played in KTP since Season 1, but he's been getting a lot of reps in 12-mans. And then Evil Bros. I'm not certain who this is, but we're going to find out. Is it a source player? Is it a returning player? And I'm just not sure. And they're aliased or whatever. Almost irrelevant, though, because you've got 7 players here who are all strong and active, and this team is scary, scary, scary. So much potential, again, for the Expired lineup. Be interesting to see how the classes work out. I'm guessing, Raven sniping, Pizza on a rifle, SQ on a rifle, Anna on a rifle, and then Fincher and Super or Coffee on the heavies. That's very fucking strong to start right there. Gonna be a fun team to watch no matter how you cut it. Then you got Game Violation Multi-Hack. So this is another one of the teams that has some source players on it, European source players. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how they progress. You got Raleigh, who is a 1.3 player. Always been a really fucking good 1.3 player. Back in the mix now in KTP. You got No Name, who obviously is going to be dominant no matter the map or route. This is a guy who can just take over the game by himself. And just, you can surround him with any 5 players and he can will that team to win. That good. Then you also got Hoolies. So I know that maybe a lot of people aren't super familiar, but I love this guy's fucking movie. I watched this guy's movie a lot. I assume he's going to be sniping. At least that's what he did in his movie and was really fucking good. These are the 3 1.3 players on this team that are really the foundation of what's going to make them scary. Then you got source players, and I've gotten to play with and against these guys in 12-mans a few times already, and there's a lot of potential here, man. Aki, heavying, seems to have a really good grasp positionally and when to push, when to hold back, prone, stuff like that. Viper, Pijisku, who I think I've played with him more than anybody, a French player, can snipe, can heavy, I think just can kind of do it all. Sango, I think I only got to play against once, but I think he was really fucking good in this game on Railroad 2. And then Knack, who is not the Brazilian 1.6 professional from MIBR, but was a fucking good player in the 12-mans I got to see him play in. I think this team is maybe the dark horse of the division. As I said, obviously these top 3 players here, the guys who have played a lot of 1.3 competitively, are all, whether you know about Hooli or not, they are all really, really good players. And then, just from what I've seen out of the source half of this team, you better be prepared for this week. And I don't just mean for No Name and Raleigh and Hoolies, because with those guys too, so much experience in the game to pass along to the newer players and work through it and keep them active. That makes this team very, very scary for everybody in this division, and you need to be on notice. And I'm sure I want to see actually who they play in week 1. Best Buds. So Best Buds is going to be the one that's going to have to experience that first. Hopefully I'll get to cast that game because I do want to see this team play in particular right off the bat. Because they are, I think, other than the team that's like all source players, they're the team that is most comprised of newer guys coming into the game. And it's always just fun for me to watch the progression of players coming over to 1.3 and seeing like, okay, they've got a clear, like strong skill floor to start it off, and where do they end up a season later or even at the end of that season or whatever. We've seen a lot of that in 7 KTP seasons now, and it's never stopped being fun for me. But yeah, this is a scary, scary team in the Silver Division, even if you don't recognize all the names on it the way you can with the other teams. Then, of course, Price is Right. Team name that is the Season 2 Silver Champs. That was a season where there was another like very fun rivalry at the top between them and what was the name of the team? I don't remember the name of the other team, but the team that had like Colin and Hambuga and Devin on it went to a 3-game final. Why can't I think of the fucking name of that team? I don't know. But regardless, this team back in silver again. A stacked, obviously, roster here. 9, Caleb, Corey Price, Pibian, River Oyster, Trance, Hypnotic, Pollock, and Leo. Leo, good to see Leo back, and I know for a fact that he is going to be starting as well. He's back in action. Very, very exciting to see, and a huge, huge boost for this roster. Does that immediately maybe make them the favorites in the division? I'm inclined to say so. Certainly one of the main 3, and if you want to get really stretchy about it and say top 4, okay, but like, to me, you got to put that team right up there as preseason favorites, with Corey Price on a rifle, with Pibian on a sniper, I assume Riv and Tony on heavies, how many was that, 4, Caleb on a rifle, Leo on a rifle. Wait, so how many was that? 1, 2, 9, and Riv, Corey, Caleb, and Leo, and Pibian. I believe that's the 6. Let me double check. I know I actually have the list, and I'm pretty sure I remembered it properly, but I need to go through and find it. And we know how I am when I start opening up fucking Discord. Caleb, Corey, Leo, Riv, 9, and Pibian. I was right. Yeah, I nailed it. I thought so. It's basically what I expected the roster to be when I saw it, so it was easy enough to remember. But, what a team right there. And then if they're missing anybody... Now, here's the thing, right? With Pollock, I don't know if Rob actually has a computer. Coming into the LAN, he said he had no way to play DoD, and that's why at the LAN he was showing up and playing DoD for the first time in 10 years or whatever. If he has a computer, that is a very valuable backup to have, as well as Hip, who can play any class. And then Trance, who is a very similar player, I would say, to Corey and to Leo. So, like, even if one of them is missing and you need Trance in there, like, he can just step right in and do that same job. It's just a very, very well-constructed team with a lot of experience playing together across numerous different variations of teams over the years. I think Leo probably with the least of, like, KTP play with the rest of the team, but does that matter? It's Leo. He's going to get his, and that's what matters most. He's the guy that you send out there to go get 80 kills, and he will. The rest of the team around him has a lot of experience playing together, and he is a smart, good team player that will just mix well with whoever he's going to play with. So that team, you got to put a star next to without question. And then Volvo, of course, a team that is always around, although under different names, maybe different makes of cars from time to time. Saab, Volvo, they've been the lads, but obviously not. This isn't the exact players that were all the lads. They only have 6 players on the dot on the roster, so I'm curious if they're going to be adding anybody, or if it's just that all 6 of these guys can for sure be there all the time for matches. But again, another really strong team, a lot of gold experience on this team. You got Scotty, who will be on a rifle, Shirley, Yanni, who I assume on this team is going to be heavying. with Manor as well, which is a fun, heavy team. Toki, who's been one of the best snipers in any division throughout all of KTP. King Yo, who has been one of the most underrated third rifles and one of the best naders, and again, maybe most underrated. And then Wua, I assume being on a rifle as well. So much experience on this team, a lot of games played together. They are always right in the mix, no matter what division, what lineup they have. They're always right there, capable of beating anybody. Like I said, they only have 6 guys right now, so I'm assuming that they'll add a guy or two to the team. But even if they don't, if these 6 players are going to be there all the time, like, you have to be ready every single time that you come up against these guys, because all of them are capable of dominating the game for 40 minutes and making you wish that you had been more well prepared if you weren't. So, I mean, as you saw in the silver division there, like, that's tough, man. That division is fucking tough. You look at every team and like, you look at one team and think like, oh, we've got the favorites here. And then you move forward and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's probably a favorite too. Oh, and that's probably a favorite too. You know, some of these teams, it's going to be important that they, you know, you don't necessarily have to scrim week in and week out 5 times a week, but you're going to want to stay sharp, even if it's 1 scrim a week, because this division is fucking sharks, man. This is shark infested waters right now, and I cannot wait to see all these silver games throughout the season. It's going to be fun without question. And then on to the other 6-team division here, the gold division. This is also a division of sharks, though, right? It's smaller. I think that's what really is crazy to me about the silver division is it's 9 fucking teams that are scary to have to play against each other. We got 6 here in the gold division, and they're all fucking scary, obviously. So, right off the bat, you have DICE, who, I mean, to many people were the surprise of the LAN. I was saying it from day one that, to me, DICE is one of the scariest teams to have to play, period. I preached on and on about it. I literally predicted them to beat us and take the 2 seed for our group at the LAN, which they did. That Railroad 2 game was crazy. It obviously could have gone either way. But man, I mean, DICE is just such a fucking good team. They bring everything you want from a team to the table. So just to go through the lineup here, you got, of course, Stealth on the sniper, Die Life on a rifle, Paul on a heavy, Alex on a rifle, Johnny on a rifle, Chris on a heavy, and then on the backup sides, you got DB, Asani, Laura, and Hey Hi. You know, anytime that they're missing anybody, they've got so much strength on the bench here too. But the main 6, the LAN team, that team is going to be so fucking strong again this season. You know, Chris was the newest player for them heading into that LAN. Like, obviously Johnny was new to the team, but he's played with these guys in the past. He's been on DICE specifically in the past. But you just saw, and again, something that I had no problem predicting going in, that Chris would be a perfect match for this lineup with the way that he plays the game and what he brings to the table. And sure enough, he was. He made some of the most important plays for DICE at this LAN, including against us, you know, stopping us from capping out in the last 3 seconds to end up winning that game in a comeback. These guys just, they play as a unit in such a crazy way. If you go and watch the games that DICE played at the LAN, whether it's win or a loss, they are just such a fucking good team and all such good players and understand their job within the team so well. You know, really, if you don't already have them as a favorite anytime they're playing the game, then you have not been paying attention, period. Or you definitely haven't been paying attention to me doing Dodcast, because I've been preaching about this since fucking season 6 now. You know, it's just something I haven't stopped talking about to anybody who would listen, because playing them in season 6 on that 3H team, it was like, these guys are like one of the fucking toughest teams I've ever played against. Period. So then getting to progress even further down the line, it was like, they're only going to get fucking better from here. And then on LAN, even more so, right? So right off the bat, you got a shark. And then you get to move right up to the biggest shark in the shark-infested waters of gold here, G-Skill. They just won KTP Gold Season 7. Then they went and had a perfect run at the World Series of DOD. Obviously, one of my former teams. All these guys are guys that I've played with, I guess, besides Savage. But Savage is the big addition to this lineup here, which we'll get to. But this is just the team in the game, period, right now. Any other team that wants to dethrone them is going to have to put in the fucking time, because as it stands, just pound for pound right now, they are the team. They're up here on the top of the throne. No one else has really been able to do anything about that in the well, I say 2 seasons because I'm counting the LAN as a whole fucking season, but you know what I mean here. Dating back to the start of KTP Season 7. You got Taylor and Milo, obviously the big heavy team there. Andrew on a rifle, Chuck on a sniper, Frank and Colin on the rifles. Now, you never know, right, with activity, like who's going to be available and stuff. I know with Frank, obviously, from the 3H season and last season, he's got a pretty crazy schedule, so he usually needs, sometimes it doesn't even matter if he's got notice, like he just can't make it. So you got Scott on the bench, another outstanding player who has been playing at the top of the game forever. Linus, same story, and an old head of the G-Skill roster. And then the big addition here, the breakout player of the LAN, and a guy who, another one here that I predicted ahead of time was going to do so, Savage, who went to that LAN, and that's the first thing I was hearing about after I woke up from a nap in the hotel room when I arrived there. I had people coming up to me like, yo, you were right, Savage is fucking insane. And I was like, yeah, no shit. I got to watch him a lot casting in Season 7, and the real clincher for me was after I got to play a couple 12-mans with him, and just seeing the way that his communication worked and the way that he played the game from, inside of his own team. It was like, this guy is so fucking good at the game already. And it was his first competitive season last season. Take that into consideration as well when you're thinking about Savage and what he's doing in this game. Nobody has been like this, certainly in KTP. We've had some really strong breakout players who in their first season were really, really good. But for Savage, it's not even like what he did in the first season. For me, that was really telling because I got to watch him play a lot. But for the average like gold player, I'm sure they weren't, watching his games all the time and seeing it. It's the LAN. He's going and having to play at the LAN against gold teams and a lot of gold players. There's no being protected because he was in a lower division or anything like that. He had to be thrown right into the fucking pack of wolves, and he had no problem escaping with his life in that case. And they're, in my opinion, and I've heard a lot of other people echo this too, this is the perfect team for him to come to. Like, and I think it was Jules who was like, I don't know why I feel that way, but I just do, was the way that Jules put it. And, it's like he's just, to me, he reminds me a lot of just the G-Skill players where they were at, in an earlier stage of the game, right? He's a younger player. He's got so much raw skill. And these guys, I guess most DoD players that are still around to this day were that player at one time or another. But G-Skill in particular, I think, are just the perfect team for Savage to be on in this case, making the jump up into gold, going straight into that shark-infested water, and potentially he's going to have to take some pretty big shoes and fill for him here, whether it's Frank or Andrew or Colin, whoever he ends up when he's playing in the place of. It's a huge fucking ask, right? But I have no doubt that he's going to be fine. He's learning from the best here. If he has any bad habits, I haven't seen them personally, but if he does have any bad habits, they will be able to work them out without any problem at all, very quickly. So I'm super excited to see that storyline progress throughout the season. Just Savage getting his first full season tasting of playing in gold and getting to do so with the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of the world, G-Skill. And then on to the next one. Of course, another team who has been terrorizing the gold division since, KTP Season 2, I think was their first season? Icy Hot. I feel like Icy Hot are going to have an extra big chip on their shoulder now coming out of that LAN that just maybe the craziest best of 3 ever. I can very confidently say the craziest best of 3 in LAN history, because best of threes have not been a thing at LAN outside of this last LAN, right? Generally, it was always like single games in the past or in the finals because it was a double elimination bracket. You'd have 2 maps played if the lower bracket team won the first game. Never really best of threes, so it's pretty easy to say like that series was insane and the top. But they were the ones who had to take that tough loss in that game. They have been bona fide top 2 in all of DOD for so many seasons now, and then having to face such a tough elimination in that game, I just feel like they are coming out with something to prove now. And I mean, anybody who knows, they know ICEOT doesn't have to prove anything. Like, we've all lost these fucked up tough games like that. No one thinks like ICEOT is any less one of the top 2 teams in DOD. But having been on the ICEOT side of things in the past, that's what's going to happen. They're going to be coming out with something to prove here. And that's scary for all the rest of the division. Because this is still fucking ICEOT, regardless of who their 6 players will end up being week in and week out. You know, you got Jesse, probably heavying right, William on a rifle, Sean on a rifle, Justin, whatever he's playing is going to be one of the top fucking 3 players in the game. Ben, most likely sniping. Mitch, most likely heavying, but another guy who can play anything and be God. Casey, most likely rifling. If he's playing, I think he's the one for me that I'm most unsure what his availability looks like. Because he wasn't really around in season 7 or I think in season 6, really? Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But then you got Chi is one of the big additions to this team here. And I think if he is potentially playing for Casey most of the time, that's a pretty good swap there as far as play style goes. You know, I think Chi is somebody who can fill the shoes of Casey here in a very nice way, but also he's versatile as fuck. So if somebody else is missing, you have no problem sliding Chi in there wherever he's needed. And then same goes for T, primarily a sniper, right? But a guy who is another person that looks at DOD the same way that I do, really dives deep into understanding the minutia of the game and his own game and watching his demos and watching as many games as possible and really trying to get better in every single way, whether the micro or the macro, and is another guy who I think because of the Savage move is maybe flying under the radar and getting to make this jump up to gold and play with one of the top 2 teams here. You know, however much experience he gets out of this move will be super valuable going forward. And he is already such a strong player and somebody who, like, for snipers, I'm sure I'm not the only one who, when you snipe against T, it's like, man, this guy is just really fucking good. Like, why isn't he in gold? But, you know, whether or not he actually gets to snipe, I don't know. I feel like Ben is generally around most of the time, so maybe not. But I can assure you that because of the dedication that T has to the game and to his own development in it, it doesn't matter whether he's sniping or not. He will improve and be good at whatever they need him to do. So, you know, early season prediction, the finals most likely going to feature 2 of these 3 teams. Obviously, these 3 teams here all, you know, I'm not by any means saying like, no, these guys are, but to me, those just coming out of the LAN, obviously, and the previous seasons of KTP, you got to favor these guys, right? Like, they're just such strong teams. Obviously, Thunder is Thunder. I thought we were going to be, or like season 2 and 3 Thunder again this season with I'm not going to get it. I'll get into that when we get to my team. We'll get into that later. Next up, another bona fide fucking freak of nature team here that has been so for all of KTP since season 1. We've got Over, guys who can beat anybody, every single season. They almost walked away with the top seed and straight shot to the finals last season. You know, like they were very, very close to doing so. They beat G-Skill, they beat TMC, both in close games. They almost then beat TMC us in the semifinals. We had a very, very crazy best of 3 series with them. These guys are so fucking good at the game, and they get better and better and better with each passing season. You know, as some of their players get more and more reps back in the game, like SZ wasn't around for the first couple seasons. Now he's been playing regularly for quite a while. Of course, he's going to only get better and better. Now, missing Till, I think James was a really, really valuable player to this team for what because the rest of them are so, like, beeline it straightforward players. And as fun as that is, like, it just doesn't always translate to victories against the best teams. It can overpower the teams that don't quite have the teamwork there, but I think it's valuable for Over to have. Well, they also don't have Chi, right? So Chi and James, who were both kind of that stabilizer unit for Over here, I think they will miss them if nobody else on the team really makes that adjustment to just bring things down a little bit. Just pull back a little bit. Make sure we're going for double caps. Make sure we're not just pushing by and like leaving the double cap there and pushing to spawn, and then no one gets the double cap, and then eventually the other team breaks out of the spawn and does and caps out, right? This is really the only wrinkle to me with Over's game is that they can be too aggressive. Like they're almost too good for their own good, because they can take those risks and play that style of game and get away with it for a while. And it's just, eventually it does catch up to them. And losing the two guys that I think had the most balanced play style of the bunch is going to be a little bit of a hurdle, but they've got so much fucking intelligence and experience on this team. I'm sure they recognize that and will have the ability to make the adjustment going forth in the season. Even if they don't, though, even if they literally chose to never cap a flag, I assure you that they could still win games just never capping flag because they're so good mechanically. Like, they are just insane at the game. You watch any of them play, and it's just a human highlight reel, right? So you got Kum, you got Mata, you got Caffrey. Now, lineup-wise, Caffrey and SC on the heavy, that's really all I can say for sure. Devin is somebody who can play absolutely any class. Nick and Nightmare, two best snipers in the game, right? One of them will be sniping. Nightmare is a little bit more experienced playing with other classes. Here's the thing, though. I gotta tell you, like, Nick never really gets to play other classes besides a sniper, but I can assure you that if he had to, he would still be a premier player on any other class. He has played other classes in the history of DOD. RWB Democrat, like, this guy can do it all. It's just that he never really gets to. So don't feel like if you see Nick Patton coming at you with a bar or a car or a Garand, like, oh, well, it's Nick Patton, he's a sniper. He will fuck you up. Just ask Thunder. How many times have we, throughout the T3 NSA rivalry, had Nick Patton just fucking run all over us with a bar or a car or his pistol? He doesn't even need to pick up a primary weapon. He's got the golden gun. But so class-wise, that's what you got there. Like I said, SC and Caffrey, most likely heavy. Mata can play anything. Kum can play anything. Sokka, mainly going to be a rifle. Jizzy, mainly going to be a rifle. And that team is just always scary. You can never take Over lightly, ever. They are such a strong team. They've played together so much, and I love those guys. They're so much fun to watch. They're so much fun to play against and cast for. So again, another shark here who has wins over all the best teams in gold. Then you got the last team that came into this gold division here. I know coming into when they announced the divisions and everything, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe they were going to do a 5-team gold, and then I thought maybe they were going to do an 8-team gold, because there's so many teams that were really, you could easily have put them in gold, and I don't think, like, they might have argued, but I think deep down they would know it's kind of a tough argument. With Seoul, I mean, you look at this roster, and it is just so stacked in my eyes with good players here. Obviously, you got the Stampers, right? You got the Bear, who can play anything, of course. Primarily going to be a rifle and a sniper. You got Jackson, who is just one of the premier rifles in the game. I had heard he was maybe going to snipe this season, but then I heard he wasn't doing that anymore. You got Brandon Newton, one of the best players of all time, right? As I already said, the Stampers, Blackhawk, and Stamp. Jared, you can put him on any class, honestly, with this team, and he's going to be a very strong player. You got Austin. I'm less sure about his availability. I mean, just based on playing on 3H with him. If he can be around, I mean, what a player to have. Another guy you can put on any gun. Then you got Luke here for one rifle, right? One of the best rifles in KTP, period. Same goes for PB, man. Justin, I think if Under had made a deeper run or, even made it to the finals, he would have been the MVP for them. Just such a fucking good player. Go watch any demo you can of him from that LAN and just marvel at the insanity that you're going to see out of him. If you end up with a rifle team of Dillard and PB and anyone else, Jackson, Dillard, PB, and Jackson, like, I'm sorry, but what rifle team can rival the insanity of those three guys? That's crazy. There's a lot of good rifle teams in gold, but like that is maybe as stacked a rifle team as you can possibly have. Obviously, it's gold, so all the rifle teams are going to be good because the rifle class is just stacked in general. But something about that mix of three players and their skill level and their play style, it really scares me. Right up there with an Andrew and Frankie and Colin, or Savage and Colin and Andrew, whatever mix of those guys, or, a Sean and William and Casey or Chi, a Matt and Alex and Johnny, a Kum, Saka and Devin, it just, God, that's some scary fucking rifle teams there. But I for some reason, that PB, Dillard, Jackson threesome, that is like a nightmare in my eyes. I don't know if it's just like because it's three guys that I've played against a lot over the years and had to feel their wieners just right into my bottom so many times or what, but like that's a fucking scary trio of rifles right there, man. Then you obviously got Shreddies, the original CK, played so well. It was cool to even see Shreddies at the LAN, right? Because, like, for years, he was CK. He was the guy, and he wasn't blowing up Discords. He was blowing up your Steam messages trying to get 12-mans going. And not a lot of people, I think, remember that, and they should. Because Shreddies walked so that CK could run, right? And then Ryan Twist, a guy who, again, can play anything, just had a really strong LAN performance. I have no idea what the starting lineup is going to look like for Seoul here. There's definitely some question marks activity-wise for me, just with Brandon and Austin, just because I just played with them on 3H a couple seasons ago, and they weren't super available. I think Brandon's maybe about to have a baby, too, which is awesome to have another little Bootin coming into the world, but obviously means you're not going to have much time to play DOD at that point. Just like CK, we all know that's coming soon, too. Real life gets in the way. Real life is more important than DOD, obviously. But I look forward to seeing what Seoul's starting lineup looks like week in and week out, because they have some fucking lineups here that I do not look forward to playing against from a I want to win this game standpoint. I look forward to playing against it because I love seeing teams that are just fucking stacked play the game and get crazy clips and shit and win. But yeah, from the standpoint of like, I don't like losing, there's some fucking lineups with this team that scare the shit out of me, man. And the more I look at a rifle trio, I don't know who Stas is in that case, right? Because they're all cars. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why don't they just Stas? It's easy to say that, Well, why isn't this guy just Stas? Not everybody can Stas. Not everybody is fucking Alex or Toxinator, who it's like you can put them on a Stas and they're going to get the same number of kills that they did with a car, or maybe even more, with guys like that, or Justin, like these guys who can you give them any rifle and they're going to shove it up your ass. But with this team, I mean, with those three guys in particular, I do feel like any of them would be able to Stas and be just fine. It's just a matter of what ends up happening with that. And then last but not least, you got Thunder here. As I alluded to earlier, I thought that we were going to end up with like our season 2 and 3 lineup this season, but that kind of fell apart at the end. We still do end up with Toxinator, Jagon, which is myself, in case you didn't know, Jules, Dorito, Ryan Emo, John Gale, Hudson is back in the mix now, although already it sounds like he's not going to be there for our first game, so hopefully that's just 1 week. Here's the well, let me finish the lineup first. Ace, back in the mix. Fusion, fresh off his return for the LAN, and then Dan Scorche on the sniper. I assume if he gets to play, he's another. This is what I was about to say, though, is that when it comes to availability, there's some problems with this team. Hudson, it sounds like, can only really play on Sundays. But then Ryan, it sounds like, can't play on Sundays. With Brad and Dan and Ace, they kind of need some notice in advance to be able to be there, some more than others, right? Me, Jules, Brian, John Gale, those 4 guys I think can be around just about any time, like with some exceptions for whatever things that are planned in advance. Toxinator, I assume, given that this team exists, that he's going to be able to be around more often than he had been in the previous couple seasons. So that's good, at least. He's obviously the most important of the bunch. He's kind of the glue of the team. The team is very different based upon whether you have Jared in the lineup or not, because having that, when I am the second voice, it's a lot easier than when I am having to try to do all the like directing of everybody, right? It's very helpful to be able to split that a little bit. And then you just add in the fact that he's also going to get like 75 to 80 kills a game, right? Goes a long way. But yeah, with this team, obviously it's Thunder. Hopefully we'll be able to make it fun for other teams to play against us this season. Have us be Thunder, like the early seasons of KTP Thunder, not the season 4 one where we basically never played and yet we never knew if 6 were going to show up. Because if that happens, I'm going to scream. Because I was really excited coming into the season, like, hey, we're going to have not just our main 6 be available, but we're going to have like at least one backup that is very reliable, and probably more. And I was very, very interested to see how we could handle the competition level of the Dices, G-Skill, Icy, Over, this whole gold division here after Thunder hasn't really been around since season 5, right? We had me, Tox, and Jules playing on 3H, and then really just me and Jules playing on TMC. But Thunder hasn't been around since season 5, when we had that crazy final against Bandits to finish it off, and then, half the team kind of just went off to do their own thing. But we're back now, and hopefully we'll be able to live up to the Thunder name and continue to have a fun rivalry with everybody else in gold. I'm cautiously optimistic for now, but check back with me again in like 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll see how emo I am and how many games combined those 6 starters we have missed, because that will dictate a whole lot about my mood. So that is just kind of going over all the teams. Really quickly to go over the schedule. I mean, I guess I can just look at my own team schedule here. I thought that there was like just a main schedule page somewhere. Is it KTP info? Maybe show all the maps? No. Servers and maps. There it is. Wait, what? Active KTP. That doesn't really tell me. Do the rules have it? Fuck it. I'll just go here. All right. So week 1, we've got Lennon 2. Same Lennon, obviously, that we've been playing. Week 2, we got Railyard B6. So first time Railyard is getting into the active KTP rotation since KTP Season 6. There's only been one match officially in KTP on this train car-less version of Railyard. It plays quite different to Railroad 2 now, or Railroad 1, or the previous Railyard. It's very fast. Like, it's chaos, really. People are going to be still figuring out the meta on it. I'm going to be very, very interested to see. Because to me, there's no wrong answer other than, like, your snipers should probably be in their lofts most of the time because the lofts are OP on this map, especially the Axis one. Obviously, any sniper loves sniping Axis side of this map. And I think the Allied side has become infinitely more fun as they've continued to update it and make it a little bit closer to Railroad 2. Whereas the original version, you didn't have a loft to snipe. You did, but you couldn't actually see anything from it. So yeah, that is the first kind of wrinkle, right? That'll be fun to watch play out as teams scrim on it and everything, and try to figure out what the best thing to do is. Next, you got Anzio. Obviously, I love Anzio. There's a lot of people that do love Anzio. Not everybody, though. It's polarizing. It's really a team play map where 30 kills on Anzio is worth like 40 on a lot of other maps. Then you got Armory B6, the most recent version of Armory that we've been playing, of course. We all know how I feel about Armory. I don't know if there's any updates planned for it in the immediate future. What the deal with that is, we'll find out. I'm sure there's, like a month before that gets played, so maybe something can get done to it in time. After that, DoD Thunder 2. So Thunder, I feel like people just kind of forgot about this map because it hadn't been played since Season 6. So it's really just one season off where it wasn't an active KTP regular season map, but that's kind of long enough in DoD for people to just forget about it, right? It's still one of the staple maps of the DoD competitive map rotation. It's Donner without as many crazy hiccups where it's like hide and seek and mid. It's still, the map is very centered around mid control, but there's a lot more options on this map to play it in an aggressive manner. You still want to leave a guy behind, right? You don't want all 6 guys to just run up and die, because that's basically just throwing, right? But it's a lot less fucked up and campy than Donner or the older versions of Thunder, right? Where when you had that whole mid-house, there was, look at what Colin could do on that map. Teemo was unkillable in mid-house because there were soft spots all over the place where you couldn't be naded. No matter how many nades you threw in there, you were not going to reach certain spots. Now you just have the lower half of the left side of mid-house. You have that staircase on the other side. It's not as cluttered. Susie is not this crazy OP unkillable, hitting a guy through a sandbag 50 times anymore. All the changes I think were for the best for speed and pace of play, and to remove some of the more like we're just gonna have 3 guys hiding these houses, right? Axis Loft used to be an unkillable. Like I used to just try to go 30-0 and Axis Loft every Axis side of Donner, and I succeeded often. Now, like, it's still OP, right? Like, being a good sniper in the Axis Loft on Thunder, you can put up a really, really fun scoreline, but you're not going to go, like, fucking 35-0. You will be killable. There's no more stupid sandbags up there. You can get walled. Or if you're Element, you can just go into the loft with a car and do that, too. He's maybe the only guy that's going to do that, but he can do it. So it'll be fun to have Thunder back in the mix. We played Dice on it, which isn't fun because they are very good on this map. This is a strong map for Dice, in my opinion. That's a tough draw to get there. Damn, I had forgot. I knew about that, but I had forgotten about it. Then we have Solitude 2, so the updated version of Solitude. I'm playing against my teammates from last season. We have played Icy Hot on the old version of Solitude back in Season 2. It was like a 3-point game. It was very close. This is obviously, like, the map is a totally different dynamic with the way it is now. You don't see people just, like, all posted up on double cap, like, flooding through it like crazy. You can do that, and I think that's something that's worth exploring for teams, to be honest, even though it's not as all-encompassing of an area as it was on the old Solitude. It's also not as fucking heavily nadeable now, so it's a little bit safer to send an extra body or 2 there. But again, another map where the meta is kind of getting played out. This is definitely a map where I think updates can be made on it if there's weird shit going on. Any sort of like fucked up glitches, of course. If you tell people about it, Tox will fix it. But as far as further updates than that, it's probably something that just, it's possible, just has to be talked about within the community. Then you got Harrington. Of course, it's Harrington, a map that I would love to see like half of the stupid skybox nades get removed. Not all of them. I think there's value to having some. Just like on Anzio. Like, if you remove the nade from allied spawn to bridge on Anzio, what the fuck would the allies ever do? It would be so hard for the allies on bridge, like almost impossible at that point. So there is a value to some of those nades, but Harrington is way too nady, and particularly in favor of the allies. Like, you can be in spawn and nading the mid cap successfully without leaving your spawn. That's a problem. That's an easy fix that maybe one day will get done, but I don't think that's the only thing there is to be done. I do still think you need to remove some of the other unintended skybox nades, because those were not intended when the map was made. It's something that was discovered over time. And then last but not least, you have the updated version of Saints. I wish I had it on this computer. I don't. I would love to be able to show it off. Oh, we played G-Skill on it too, so that's interesting. I'm sure you guys have probably seen the updated version of Saints. I guess there is screenshots and stuff here. I don't know what the riffraff has been about it. Do we got screenshots here? So yeah, fix sandbags. There's a lot of sandbags problems. Thank you to Paul Kuhn for letting me know about the bullet penetration on all the fencing. I was able to pass that along and get that fixed like right away. The jigsaw puzzle window that overlooked Broken Bridge from the Axis side, gone. Upper red, streamlined, completely reworked. I'm not sure if is there photos? Okay, here we go. So now I can actually show pictures to go with this. So here you go. That's where the puzzle piece used to be on Broken Bridge. And also, as you can see here, now the Broken Bridge is no longer just like a free pass to shoot guys off a bridge or either side of the bridge the whole way through. There is still the space in the middle where you can impact the bridge from unbroken, but no longer is it just like, ooh, I can just kind of ninja my way over to this broken side and let guys run by, and then I can break bridge with no problem. This is what it looks like from the Axis side. You can see there's this here. It's like a slope kind of staircase that goes down here. So now you got some more options as the Axis. If they have your red room locked down, you can go up here. If you're an allied player, you have the option now to go up the staircase, throw a couple nades, then come back up. Whereas before it was like, if you did that, you'd have to commit to running across to the red doorway, which very risky. Here you can kind of see, right? So that's the dead center of Broken Bridge has visibility onto the bridge. So you still have impact on the bridge from there. It's just now you're not going to see 5 guys going Broken Bridge anymore. Basically, the whole point of this was that at a certain point, the meta became everybody besides the snipers basically is focused on Broken Bridge. Now, doesn't need to happen that way. The route is a little bit more sectioned off and a more classic route rather than just being a big wide open space where the cap isn't, but it has more impact on the cap than any other area. So this is going to be, I think, encouraging for people to head more towards the bridge itself. You can see from here, too, a new broken wall on the Axis side of connector there, which I think is also an interesting change from that perspective. There you can see what it looks. Okay, so this is the other big change. Oh, wait, no, there's a couple that you can see here. So removing the second double window. So now snipers, Garands, bars can't just sit up there and play peekaboo back and forth between the two windows and just be unkillable, right? It's annoying. And that's coming from me as a sniper who abuses those windows on Allied side. It's just annoying. I think the goal, generally speaking, with map updates is to try to make it as balanced an experience as possible, right? To have it be as close to like either side can win either half at any time. So at one point in Season 5, the Saints was so Allied-sided that like it was just Axis was all damage control. Do not give up a cap out for as long as you can. Update went in and it became, I think maybe it went a little too far in the direction of the Axis where all the updates were nerfing the allies and buffing the Axis, right? That's kind of like the most recent update before this one. Now this one is kind of meant to bring them both back closer to even and to nerf the Broken Bridge meta, to make the map a little bit more well-rounded and complete of a map rather than just being an all-out war on 1/4 of the map. So as you can see, I'm not sure where the photo is to kind of show this off here. Okay, it looks like it's over here. So from that last screenshot we were looking at, you could kind of see here, if you're Axis, you cross the bridge, there's these boxes. It looks like that cap zone glitch spot might be gone. The little Jeep that was hanging off the bridge that you could prone behind, yeah, it's gone. So that, I think, is probably a good update, too, because that's kind of fucked up. There's definitely a lot of times I saw that fuck over people in games I casted where it was like, what the fuck? We threw 10 nades at bridge and it didn't kill anyone. And then you would just look and there'd be 2 guys prone, glitch capping. An unintended side effect, right? But it was part of the game at that point. But from that screenshot, where'd it go? Not here. Oh, you can kind of see it there, too. This is the doorway. This is what we're going to talk about right now. So this is the Allied side of bridge, right? Like, you come out of the arch. If you look to the left, you got this area here. This is what it looks like from the inside. Then if you keep going out, this is the water staircase, right? So now you've got some options coming out of water. It makes water a little bit more impactful, or at least that's what it's supposed to do, right? Whether that'll happen or not, you never know. Also, got rid of that sandbag that people used to just sit there and abuse. You got these boxes here, so there is cover now, but it's not a fucking sandbag that you can just like crouch behind and look at a little pixel like anyone who's ever gone into the water on the Allied side has done. I certainly abused that spot every chance I got if I was going water on Allied side. Nice. Okay, so you can't cap behind that spot. That's good too. 100% agree. That would be insane. That's so far over on that half of the map that it would just be stupid. That's so much cover to have. But as I was saying, this area, because like me and William were talking in Discord about Saints while I had just rang for them in a scrim, and then they were playing Saints after, so I stuck around to watch. We were talking about what changes could be made for Saints, and then ironically, like a lot of stuff we were talking about got done in this update. And what I said to William was, when I saw the update, there's a spot that I could just see him really liking, and it's this spot here. Because it's really like there's protection, right? But it's not overprotective, and you can kind of deal with multiple angles in a small area, and you just have to be able to isolate your duels well. It's nadeable for sure, and it's what my biggest question was, is it nadeable enough? It's possible that spot is too OP in the update, and that maybe it needs to be nerfed a little bit. I said the simplest solution to that would be to blow out the roof so that you can get a nade in here from a lot of different places. The original solution, so it used to just be a doorway, right? Like just where my cursor is, that was the doorway. This was, closed off and basically was just a wall there. So you would be really impossible to get out of there unless a guy just suicide ran out and basically threw the nade at you from a foot away. Now, because it's opened up and this is like a curve on the wall here, you can kind of see if you throw a nade from either side, like from the broken wall or from the archway, it will carom around this wall and generally nuke this whole room and like the top of the staircase. And obviously the water guy, because this is the water exit here, can also come and throw a nade in this area too to deal with it. It's still going to be a tough spot to deal with, right? You're still going to have a game plan and an understanding of the angles and where they can be at good calls to deal with it. But I think this could be a really fun area for the Axis to be able to have some impact immediately on the Allied side of bridge in keeping them off it after losing a lot of their teammates. To me, I mean, I know I've heard people say like they think water's useless. I don't agree. I'm also a staunch train car defender. I think water was very high impact. It was just a matter of how you play it. I mean, personally, for me on Axis side, any class that I was playing, my ultimate goal on Axis side was always to get into water and push out. Like, if you kill the water guy and you catch a timing, you have free reign all over their side of the map. We've seen so many ridiculous clips coming out of that area as the Axis. That's still an option, but now you have a secondary avenue to go have that same impact where you're not just funneled into that one area, right? And then on the Allied side of water, as we saw, well, the Axis side, but the Allies would be pushing it. Now you have this ramp, staircase, whatever. I think it's a ramp because stairs in this game are just so fucked up. I know a lot of people talk about the stairs in Source, but it's a different game. Like, the way that player models and registration and nades and stuff interact with stairs, you just, trust me, you don't want to deal with that. I think this is probably the better option of the two. I don't know. We'll see. I could be wrong, and the ramp could be a problem in a different way. But, it's just, this is, I think, a good happy medium here where you can go out and try to throw a nade up to the spawn, try to get a couple picks, whatever, and then you're not just stuck there where the next best thing you can do is run all the way back towards the bridge itself and go up the ladder. Now you have a way out. You can fuck with them. You can make some noise, and then you can make your way back up. Or, you can send a couple guys down there and leave one guy to deal with red, because now you don't have that puzzle piece to deal with. So you're not just going to get double swung from two spots and triple naded. I do believe that there is one less window in upper red now, too. I could be wrong. Or maybe it's just there's less space in upper red. I think it's just there's less space in upper red. I'm not sure if any of these screenshots show the inside of upper red here. Nah, it doesn't look like it, but there's definitely, it's more streamlined in upper red. Obviously, the whole puzzle piece side is gone. The point of this overall was to bring the sides close to directly even, and then to take the broken bridge meta and fuck it in the ass. Okay, for a second, I was like, did I have my mic muted this whole time? You guys just saw me have a heart attack in real time. But yeah, to take that broken bridge meta and bust it, right? Like, this should make this map be more of like a 2 or 3, maybe going broken, or maybe not even like just straight out. Like, you could see 2 guys going broken and a third is a rotator on the right, and then you have that guy rotating between broken and water and everyone else's bridge, because that bridge side of things now has become much more dynamic and much more important. You can't just rely on broken bridge control to be the be-all, end-all. And I do believe there is there's a nade catcher here as well. So it looks like it doesn't go all the way to the backside. Okay, yeah, so you can probably nade over this at certain angles to get it up onto the bridge, but I'm guessing that's not going to be a super, like you can see, you could be in that area and nade here and that area and nade here, but then like if they are capping up in this area, what does that matter if you're nading over here, right? So it's still an option, but bridge is going to be a lot more like you have to be a bridge player to have huge impact on bridge, or a water player, right? Which is kind of what the main complaint has been, is about how fucky broken is and how everybody just goes broken. It's so OP. The Axis can just camp in upper red. Well, all that shit is gone now. There's a few more new changes to make the map more dynamic. The Source players that wanted Source Saints got something kind of resembling that with the ramp up to broken. Again, I maintain that if you put a staircase up to this, there would be, I think very quickly people would find out that is actually made things worse. To that area in particular, like, you could just bypass so much of them. Like, why would you even go broken or bridge? Why not just fucking go through the water? Like, what are they going to do at that point? Go through the water, nade up to connector, nade up to their side of broken bridge, nade into the left side puzzle piece, nade the Axis side of bridge. Nades are so overpowered in this game compared to Source, right? Like, off an initial, if you could just run up to the Axis side of bridge through a staircase from water, you could just nade the entire team off the map from there together, and then walk up a staircase and go cap the bridge, like, very, very quickly. And then the rest of your teammates are already on the Axis side of the map, so there's a cap out. I think I understand the logic behind it, but in Source, it's just, the games share a name and a setting and weapons and stuff, right? But the mechanics of the game, the nades and stuff like that, they're just not the same. The peeker's advantage, it's much, much different in Source compared to 1.3. Like, there's just a lot of differences where taking the map one for one just because it works in Source, I think very rarely is the answer. I'm all for trying things like that. I just think it's something where a lot of the time you're probably going to find that it makes something highly one-sided more than it brings things more to balance on the map, which is what the goal is to make every map be as close to a 50-50 shot as possible, so that it's not like every, like old Lenin where it was just Allied side, you're going to cap 17 times, and Axis side, you're just going to be fighting for your life walking out a small corridor, or Axis side Harrington, which teams have learned to bring the Axis side more up to par with the Allies, but it's still heavily Allied-sided, right? These maps that are more 50-50 balanced is kind of the goal here, and I think just from what I see in matches on Saints and the brains that we know people have in the game for understanding how to turn a meta in a way that's advantageous, right? Just people are fucking smart in this game. And you see a change like that, and if I'm thinking of something like that, then you best believe that the best players in the game are already seeing the potential for something insane like that to play out, where you just make it, well, fucking 5 guys rush water off the initial and go up the staircase, right? Like, I'm not that clever of like a strat guy in this game, and that was the first thing I thought of when I saw the Saints version of this map, was like, well, in 1.3, like, with nades, you could just nuke the whole map from there, and then pretty much get a cap out in like 35 seconds, I think. So it would just make the map heavily Allied-sided again. That doesn't benefit the Axis very much. And then I think these changes are a better halfway point to taking Broken Bridge, making it an isolated route not fully isolated, but more of an isolated route, balancing out the whole rest of the map and making it more dynamic for all the routes and all the players and giving you more options to have impact throughout the map from any route that you're going. Because Broken Bridge is still fucking strong, and it's still going to be important, and red control and green control and the four-way control, those things are all still very important, but it's no longer going to be like a 4v4 route over there or 5v5. And all the to me, I haven't played it yet. I'm sure people have. I haven't heard anything about how it felt to people, but when I saw the changes, I felt like for the most part, you know, they were the right moves to make this map more playable at a high competitive level. I didn't mind Saints the way it was before, but that Broken Bridge side of things was definitely crazy when that meta became what the standard Saints game was. Like that was a pretty big turning point that took the map from like, wow, all these recent changes made the map much more balanced compared to Season 5. And then it was like, okay, it's balanced, but now it's just like fucking chaos on the Broken Bridge, where the snipers get to sit there and get naded and fight each other every like 45 seconds while everybody else goes and nades and shoots each other on Broken, right? So yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how that plays out. That, again, is the second last week of the regular season. That had to be a tangent because it's a whole map update. And then I believe there is week 9, the ranked week on Railroad 2. And that does it. That's all of it. Hour and 40. See, this is why... I mean, I could have maybe done a better job at being expedient in this Dodcast episode, but this is why I'm going to have to do this in multiple episodes. The next one I'm going to do from my own house, on my good microphone and everything, because I hate... That microphone just sounds so much better than this one, man. I feel bad when like I listen back to the cast and the Dodcast afterwards when I'm here, and I'm just like, oh, God, that sounds so bad. But yes, this is just the preview kind of portion of the Dodcast, the first episode for Season 8. There will be another one before matches get played. I mean, outside of maybe our match. But again, that's fine. I don't ever like predict our matches or anything like that. It's Icy Hot versus Thunder on Lennon. It's going to be a banger if it happens. Hopefully someone will cast it if it does. Hypothetically, it would be on Monday. At, I think, 10 Eastern. For anyone that's out there, do not forget to submit to the Frag of the Week for War Within. The guy works so hard to get us a Frag of the Week in a timely manner every week, which is crazy, man. I actually went through, me and Steve went through and counted, because Steve was curious how many movies I've actually made. And I had to count. I don't think I missed any. Steve had 18, if you include Frag of the Weeks. And then I had 46. If you include Frag of the Weeks. I've made 7 Frag of the Weeks, I believe it was. Hold on, I think I can... Is it this? I hope I didn't... I might have actually hit the not save button. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. 5 Frag of the Weeks. So this is what it was. I made... Oh, it was 48, actually. 36 individual solo movies... Whether, like, these were the ones that was just of myself, and then these were all the other people's movies. 36 of those, 17 movies that I actually, like, finished or got within 99% of finishing. And then Frag of the Weeks, I made a really bad Harrington one that's gone from the internet, but I'd love to see it. Lennon Fraps, a Shamil, Cal one, Sivo, Shamil, Anzio, TPG, and Cal. And then the Frags of the Fortnite, which was that time that I just kept accepting Frag of the Week submissions for 4 weeks because I wanted it to be crazy. And it was a crazy Frag of the Week, but shouldn't have had to wait 4 weeks to do it, which is kind of the point here. Submit your frags to Ryan right off the bat so that he doesn't have to make a Frags of the Fortnite to have a crazy Frag of the Week. All right. I will be back in America soon and back to doing all the casting for the World Series of DoD. Just got a little bit behind now because I didn't want to have like just one batch of demos be shitty quality audio-wise. So, love you guys. We're back for another season at KTP. This game will never die. Ever. Ever. Love you. Peace out.